So I don't think I've done too badly. We're getting there. We're figuring it out. Certainly hit some roadblocks. But yeah, we are in the new year. We are trying to achieve our projects. We are trying to achieve our goals. I'm a little late on getting bored tonight. I hope everything works all right, because I've been trying to work on my two computers here, and one of them I'm trying to do the editing of some of the other videos for the other channel on, and the speaker system is broken. So I have to keep switching around the audio pieces. It's just such a pain in the butt. It just so many little problems that shouldn't be problems, but they are. Makes everything a little bit harder to do. So, excuse me. So I've got this computer, which sort of works. The difficulty I have with this computer is when I disconnect the camera or the microphone. It makes it so that the next time I reconnect them, we get glitchy reactions from the computer when I hook them up. So hopefully this doesn't glitch out on me tonight, but it may. I don't know. But yeah, so working on the other computer to do the edits on the video for the Makerspace tours. The biggest problem I have is, despite the thing having speakers and a headphone jack, neither of them work. So my only way to use these headphones to access the audio for editing is to unhook the microphone that I use for this computer and hook it up to this computer over here so that I can hear what I'm editing and sync the audio. But the problem is, as we've seen in the past, when I disconnect any of the features from this computer and then reconnect them, we get a lot of your signal is being interrupted in the middle of my live streams. So we'll see if that turns out to be a problem. One of the other things, maybe it's just something I forgot, or maybe it's worse now than it was before, but I spaced on the fact that every time I edit a 15-minute video or around there, it takes an hour and 40 minutes to compile it into its finished edited form. And then it takes about 45 minutes to an hour to upload it to YouTube. It's literally 2.5, 3 hours just to get a 10-minute video up. How is it that freaking long? And God forbid I should start up another edit in the meantime where it's compiling something or uploading it to YouTube, because it just slows the process down. It's like, so like every video is going to take a 3-hour chunk of time. I was not ready for that to be the case. So I'm trying to schedule things in that vein in such a way that I can do the edits ahead of time. So if I do an edit ahead of time, set it to exporting the video to an MP4 format, set it up, work on this one for other projects, go run some errands or some such thing, and then come back when that's done and upload it, potentially with a schedule to go live. I'm not sure if I like that pattern yet, where it's scheduled to go up at such and such a time. I'm not sure I want to do that, but we can give it a try for one or two. The other problem I had is the taste test video that went up, I guess it was today. I finished editing that last night. It was actually, that's one of the ones I've done on here. So basically, I live streamed it to a locked, a unreleased format. If I unlock it so that it's accessible, you wouldn't know it's there because it was recorded, I think, in late 2018, early 2019. So that video is roughly that old, I believe. Actually, let me see if I think that was recorded shortly after I came back from a trip to record some interviews for the Makerspace store. So that's probably 3 years old. So that video is so far back that if I made it live, it'll still be live at that time it was released. So in order to change that, there's a feature that you can go into YouTube and hit the download video, and then you can re-upload it. Except for these older taste test videos that I did are so scattered that I collected them into one playlist. But once they're in the playlist, I can no longer download them to edit it. And I can't get them out of the playlist back into the main list of uploads because that's not a channel. That's not a playlist I can access. I can't dump things into it. So I lost the ability to download and edit it. So I edit it in YouTube Editor, which took forever to do. That took like an hour and a half to edit that one video. It's not worth an hour and a half to edit them like that. And so I finished editing it. I was going to do save it. And I saw in one of the features that it said save as a new video. And I went, that's what we want it to do. So I hit that. And 4 hours later, it was still going to start the process soon. And I went, are you kidding? So I went to bed. I woke up this morning and it still hadn't started. And I'm like, I don't have the patience for this crap anymore. So what I ended up having to do is find some workarounds that let me get the video, the edited video that I spent an hour and a half editing on YouTube, got it, pulled it off, and then re-uploaded it as a new video. And that took a lot of work to get that to work right. And I'm not up for doing a lot of that. So I'm going to have to try to remember some workarounds that'll streamline that process a little more, allow me to download it and edit it in other software. But I had forgotten how long the editing software takes to export those files. I had not realized how absolutely brutal that is. But theoretically, if I'm just doing it back and forth between these two, I should be able to cycle so that I finish an edit on this one, set it to export, start recording on here for a video, finish that up, pull up one of the older videos, download it, edit it, start exporting it. By that time, I should have enough leeway. Maybe I'll have to go do a few other things, but then I can come back, finish with the edit here, and jump over and just keep trying to cycle through that. It's just like I was not prepared for just how like pace crushing that was. Just to come in and go like, okay, I've got 2 10-minute videos that I'm going to upload to my 2 channels. No, it's going to be 4.5 hours to get that done. Like, there is no reason for it to be that difficult. So I am definitely of the mind that I will try to be doing a lot more like this. I know I edited so many of my review videos on this channel before. I don't remember it taking 3 hours to get those videos done, but I'm gonna guess it probably did, which is why I favor these live videos now. So I'm gonna try in the future, going forward with the rest of what I do for this channel, to record it as a live stream that I can schedule to go up. Just, I do want to see if I could get the feature that lets you upload it as a new video to work. I don't know why it didn't work for that one video I tried. Maybe because it's so old, I don't know. But I'd like to see if I could get that to work for one of them. So right now, I'm in the process of doing the edits for the Makerspace tours. I'm sort of getting one a day done because it's a 3-hour process. So stupid. It's so obnoxious, but it is what it is. I'm trying to get those done for the rest. Like, I'm going to do 1 or 2 more tonight so that they can go up tomorrow and Thursday. And then tomorrow I'm going to try to get Friday done. And then I'm going to see if I can do something this weekend for just sort of like a vloggy post for the Roving Jack channel. I'm starting to feel like, with the added awareness of how much effort the editing takes to get time-wise done, that what I need to do is set up edits to export overnight. So I set it up, I just do them, let it run, and go to bed. So that and theoretically I could do that. I have some questions. I know previously when I was out traveling for my trip, I tried a couple things like that, and one of the things that happened was I would set it to export and the computer would go to sleep and disrupt the export, so I'd have to start over again when I woke up. I'm hoping I can work around that, but I'd like to be able to just, set up the export to happen and let it run in a downtime where I'm not working on the computers. And if I can get this computer and that computer doing it at those times, I can get 2 exported videos at the same time. One of the hurdles I'm facing with that right now is this computer right here does not have any of the Makerspace videos on it. It's this one over here that does. So I don't know how, and the other hurdle I hit was the editing software that I use on the laptop over here is 2017's version of it. On this computer, it's the updated one, and the differences between the functioning of the software make some of the things I need to do harder. So it is what it is. I'm gonna see what I can do to work around some of that. Like I said, I'm thinking if I do the Opportunity Forge videos, I will probably use OBS, and I will do my best to organize them so that they're a one-take, single shot, essentially live recording. Yeah, that one was, so we've just been through 2020. 2019, the only Makerspace visit I did on 2019 was Oahu in Hawaii. So that has to have been 2018. Yeah, I think that's a 2018 video. Almost all of them will have been 2018. 2017, 2018? I'm not sure. When was Oahu? That was That was 2018, right? 2019. I don't remember. I'm a little lost as to what year those happened in. Mm-hmm. It might be 2 or 3 years old at that point. Yeah, so I've got a lot of those videos from that year that still have to be edited and put up. And that's just because like I got burnt out from doing it the first time. Took me the second half of the year I got back to recover from it. Enough to go out to Hawaii for that trip. And coming back from Hawaii, we did a lot of stuff on this channel. And then I started my work that went through the holiday season. Different computer. Though a lot of those files, when I was traveling across country, I did 2 trips across country to those makerspaces. And I did it with, when I started the trip, I recorded the first video in that series. The first set of videos in the main were recorded on my camera and loaded into one of my laptops. Literally within a week of doing that recording, that computer died. And it was the heating system. I still have that computer over there that I could replace the heating system on, and I could get it up and running again. I need the time and space to work on it, and it has a few other broken parts, like the keyboard doesn't work anymore, so I'd have to use an external keyboard and mouse. But I could get that one up and running again. But that one broke right before I really set out across the country off for the trip. So what I ended up doing was getting a replacement laptop, and that laptop is the one that's over here. This laptop went across country with me twice. Well, I guess 4 times technically. Out, back, out, back. So that made a couple trips across country. And in the process of doing it, the hinge on the back of the laptop cracked on one side. But it was still there enough that if I handled it carefully, I got it to last a little bit longer. And I took that one on the trip to Oahu with me. And when I got back from Oahu, the screen just snapped completely off. The screen still worked, so I set it up on the table out in the main part of the living space I was in, propped up on some books so that I could still use the screen and the built-in webcam. That was before you sent me the webcam I'm using right now. So I had propped up that camera, and I did some of those painting videos that we did for that year, and some of those other projects were done using the webcam before we got this webcam, the built-in webcam on the laptop. But at a certain point, we started to have problems where the screen would go black and I couldn't get it to come back up. So I hooked up an external monitor to it and was using that for a little while. And then I just replaced the laptop with the new laptop that I used for 1.5 years after getting the new laptop. And that's the one that the hard drive blew up on. But this one was the one I took across country. This one is the one that has some of the data on it. Some of the data that it does not have on it is because when I was traveling across country, I was doing videos for this channel and the Roving Jack channel, and storing the audio files and the video files for the Maker Tours. And all of those filled up a lot of the hard drive on the laptop fairly quickly. And I knew as I went through this that if it continued at that pace, I couldn't get all of the Makerspace videos and audio, the raw video, the edited video, and the uploadable video are 3 different files when you're doing these editing processes. And I didn't have enough space on my hard drive to do 50 Makerspaces, 3 copies of each file before it even goes up. So as I was out at VidCon that year, I was checking out some potential external hard drives, and it wasn't looking like I was going to put $300 into a spiffy high-end hard drive, but I did find at a Walmart an external hard drive that worked for stocking and backing up a lot of those videos, and that one's in a drawer over there. That has predominantly just the Makerspace videos on it. I believe it's a terabyte hard drive, and it has all those videos on it. The hard drive on this laptop has some of them, but this is also a terabyte hard drive, but because it's got so much else on it also working through it, it doesn't have the space to manage all of that. So I did back up an external hard drive worth of all those Makerspace videos. At this point, though, the only computer I know that can handle those files for certain is this laptop, because that's where I loaded those files on and then loaded them onto that hard drive. I'm a little paranoid that if I hook up that external hard drive to this computer, that it'll say incompatible, reformat drive, and I will lose all of that. So I am trying to be extra careful not to screw that up. So that's also part of the reason why I'm trying to get those videos edited now, is I need to get them up online so that they're no longer at risk of hardware failure. Because I also have some SD cards that I had some of my old writing on, and some of that stuff was backed up on those. 2 of those SD cards no longer work. They're corrupted. So it's like the loss of data is a real danger. And I've got roughly about 210, 220 Makerspace Tour videos that I still have to edit and upload. That's enough that I can do 5 a week and kind of get through most of this year with those uploads. And I don't have to, like, once I get them up there, I don't have to stress as much about losing them potentially. It's not to say that a YouTube channel can't get wiped out. It has happened to other people, and I'm sure at some point it could happen to me. But in the meantime, getting them off of hardware that could potentially fail and onto an external site like YouTube, I can download those files and back them up again once they're uploaded. But I need to get them up onto the web. And I'll talk a little bit more about part of the burnout and the hesitation at another point. But it's definitely been hard to get myself back into doing those videos. And I had to remind myself, look, yeah, I did those trips for a reason, and that reason still exists. And so I should just do that. Remember why I did it and do it. It's so hard to second guess everything that I'm doing and beat myself up and not go forward with the project, because like I can always do it later, and I can't keep putting it off like that. I already feel bad enough that it's been as long as it's been since I recorded those videos that they're going up, but it's just going to be what it is. I mean, it's part of one of the conversations I had on New Year's Eve was a guy I know who also did some video stuff about 10 years ago for an organization. We were doing events and stuff, and we did a lot of recordings, and he did a lot of video stuff for that. And he just got to a point where he looked at it and goes, I'm not going to spend 40 days working on editing these files. And so he just uploaded them as one giant suite of videos, unedited, just completely raw, and just got them off his shoulders. It's something that wasn't trailing him anymore. And there is a sort of an appeal of some of that now. I do find myself, as I was looking through editing those videos, thinking like, I'm not up for putting an hour and a half into every one of these videos just to edit it, only to then spend 3 hours exporting it and uploading it. Like, I don't like each 10 to 15 minute video being 4 hours worth of effort and work. I'm not super keen on putting all that time into it. What I'm going to do, very minimal editing. I'm going to sync the audio. Anything that I've talked to the person and said, if you don't want that included, I'll edit it out. I'll edit it that way. But other than that, no fancy starts, no fancy ends, no fancy B-roll cut. It's going to be straight video. Like, you're going to get what I got in camera at the time I got it. Yeah, and that's it. It's different depending on the resolution of your video. And that's the other thing is, like, full on, I believe all of those videos are 720, I think it is. So they're barely high def. They're sort of like the low end of high def is 720, I think it is. And then high def standard, which is what I'm shooting this in right now, is 1080. And then like 4K. And at 720, they take over an hour for a 10 to 15 minute video to edit. A 1080p video of 10 minutes or longer would take 5 to 7 hours in some cases. I do recall some of those being like that at one point, and I'm like, I'm not interested in doing that. I'm really not interested in doing that. Like, I don't want to spend an entire day on an edit. And so, like, I'm hesitant to do anything that requires heavy editing. But I will do some of those for some of these things that I'm going to do. I feel like that's reason enough for me to prefer to do most of the videos for this channel, and possibly mostly Roving Jack, but possibly also Opportunity Forge in 720. I will consider 1080 for videos under 10 minutes, under 8 minutes in length. I will consider maybe doing a 1080. And so I'm really thinking going forward that if I'm going to do any really edited works, I'm going to try to keep them under 5 minutes at 1080p. But it's definitely something that's on my mind as that process is excruciating. If I had a dedicated computer just for doing those edits and exports, and immediately after they're edited and exported, transfer them to another computer to do the uploads. If I literally had an editing computer or two, and then an uploading computer, like if I had 3 dedicated computers just to handling those things, and I could transfer files between them easily, that would be one thing. I'm not going to try to get that to work with what I currently got going. I don't think it would work. But it's on my mind. It's one of those things where, like, the awareness of the intensity of time used to do those edits is just, it's weighing on my brain. Because I would have loved yesterday or today to be able to have edited the entirety of the week's worth of videos that are going up on Roving Jack. I would have loved to spend 4 of those hours or 5 of those hours of one of these past few days, just edit them all and set them to export. And I feel like if I could get a streamlined system of doing that and be sure that they're not going to freeze up if it goes to sleep while I'm doing other stuff. Because I could, like, if I could set up a queue of exporting files for when I'm at work, that would be super helpful. I would almost prefer to be able to, like, when I'm asleep and when I'm at work, set it up to just start exporting those files to where they need to be. And then once they're exported, I can set them up in a queue to upload to YouTube and just set that for when I'm sleeping or something like that. That would be ideal. I don't know if the system's up to it, and I don't know if my internet connection can handle 4 to 6 hours solid of uploading videos for a week. I may look at giving that a try, but in the meantime, it's going to be a little bit more snail paced. The makerspace should still be there. I have not checked. That is one of those other things where I actually thought about doing a series of videos where I contacted those people and update on how the spaces are doing. Greensboro, North Carolina, the Forge Makerspace. Open 24 hours. They're still there, it looks like. Some of them might not still be where they were. And that'll be one of the things. Like, I know one of the places that I went to was just getting started and they hadn't opened their doors officially yet. And I interviewed the guy who was founding the place, and that's all I got from him. I said I might come back at another point and talk with you guys about how the space is going once you're up and running. And I left there, and I have since not seen a word or an inkling that place got started. No, it's not in New Hampshire. The one that just went up, that one's for North Carolina. That's Greensboro, North Carolina. The one before it was Nova Labs in Virginia. I guess technically Virginia. It was in the DC area. I've uploaded Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, I'm trying to remember. I think I went from New Jersey to let's see what I got here. What it tells me. Baltimore, Maryland, and Virginia. Yeah. So Fubar Labs in New Jersey, Baltimore, Maryland, and then Virginia, and then North Carolina. Technically, the place I went to after this, after North Carolina, after that one goes up, will be South Carolina. But they had a stipulation that I have to show them the videos before I upload them for their approval. And so I have to edit them, show them to them, get their approval in whatever timely fashion they respond to, and then I can upload them if they approve them. So I may just skip over South Carolina and give them time to do that process if they're still there. This trip was cross country. I went from Maine, stopping in pretty much every state along the way, down the East Coast to Florida. And then from Florida, I went across the southern edge of the United States all the way out to California. I stopped in California, spent about 3 months in California, 2 months, and then no, I think I spent about 30 days roughly in California, San Luis Obispo area, and then I headed back one row of states up. So I left California, I went to Nevada, or no, yeah, I think I went through Nevada and then southern Utah. So I went one row of states up from where I went along the bottom of the U.S., all the way back across and catching a few of the other states on my way up back to New Hampshire by April. And then, so I left on New Year's, roughly around this time that year. So early January, I headed out, and I got to California, I think in February, maybe March. And then I spent a month, I think it was February, mid-February. And I spent a month, and then I got a membership at a makerspace out in California, which I didn't record interviews at that one. I did a biohacking space in California, was the one I did. So I did one per state, and then I traveled back across. I think it was March. Was when I went through the mountains of southern Utah. A makerspace close to me. We've got one in Nashua, one in Manchester, and I think they were looking at starting a one in Concord right before the pandemic hit. I don't know how they're doing with that right now. There are a couple other small ones in the state. Once I got back from the first loop out, I got back in April, I think, and got my taxes taken care of. Registered my car early in the year because I knew I wasn't going to be here. And I did a few other things in the area for a bit. So I spent maybe half a month to a month back in New Hampshire before I headed back out. And when I headed back out, I took another route that caught more of the states that I hadn't gotten yet. And I was headed out to, what was it? It was Santa Fe, New Mexico, where they were having the first Nation of Makers conference for maker spaces from all across the country to meet together and share information and ideas. And so I attended that. And I recorded some interviews there. I believe those are also in the queue of videos that I uploaded. Yes, they're the magic wheelchair video. There's Leilani Roser and Karen Paramananden and Ling Sullivan. And those went up at September 2018 is when those were uploaded. Yeah, so 2018 was I think that was the year I went on this trip. Because I know I uploaded those videos pretty much when I was doing them. It got harder to do that as I traveled because I'd hit areas where I just could not get signal or transmit video. So the very first video is 2018. Yeah, so 2018 was the year I did the 2 trips across. So second time out, I went to the Nation of Makers convention in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I hit places on my way to there, and then on the way out of there, I went up the Pacific Northwest. So I went up through, I went back to California for the interviews with the biohacker space. And then I traveled up through Northern California, Oregon, and Washington, did makerspace into each of those. And then I just started to loop my way through the upper north states to catch as many more as I could. Now, it was about halfway through that trip that I started to hit places where nobody was responding. And there were a couple places where there were no makerspaces. The only ones I could find reference to were defunct. They had failed and they're gone. So I kind of hit a point. I ran out of money. There was problems with my car. I was getting stood up by places that I had called and made arrangements with. I couldn't find alternative places to go to. And it was just sort of like, I've been at this for 6 months. I've been driving and going to makerspaces for 6 months total, not counting the month that I spent in California and the month I spent back in New Hampshire at either end of that first loop. So about 8 months into it, I was just sort of like, I'm out of money. I'm eating once every 2 days. I might have enough money to get back with gas for my car to drive back to New Hampshire. I'm calling it here. I'm done. And I got back here. I literally parked my car in the driveway of a friend's place who I stayed with for the next 3 months. I didn't move the car. I didn't move the car at all because I couldn't afford the gas to move it. I lived off of as cheaply as possible. I think I got cases of eggs for like $5. You eat 4 eggs a day. That's what you ate. And I was just waiting for that to recuperate my finances enough that I could get back into a place where I was functional. And I finally got my feet back under me, started to get a little leeway, and it was by that point it was the end of the year, and I got some work, and I was busy then. I saved up enough that I did some research and found, like, chance of all chances, got the information around Christmas time that if I book it right, that trip to Hawaii, which was one of the 50 states that I needed to get for my 50 states of makerspaces, I could do it for about $600. And so I scrimped and saved to make that happen. And I got it done in early 2019. And then the plan was summertime if everything went right, I would go to the New York Maker Faire, and I think that was the last New York Maker Faire they had, because Maker Faire, the Make company collapsed, and it took some of the fairs with it, and so I feel like at a certain point in the plan for the summer of 2019, I was like, I don't think this is quite going to work the way I hoped. I had hoped to be able to drive up through Canada and visit many of their maker spaces on my way to Alaska. That just did not come to fruition. I reached out to some southern maker spaces that I missed. New Orleans had collapsed before I got to them, and I think Alabama, I think, was one of the other ones that was hard to find. And I finally got a hold of a few of them, and I reached out to them, and I was planning to come to them, but I did not have my finances and situations in order so that I could do that at the time. And so I got another job for the coming winter, and I worked holiday season retail, and just I signed up for not the amount of hours I ended up having to work for that job. But I did the hours because the pay was helpful in recuperating a lot of those losses. But about, what was it? September, October, November, December, January, February, March. It was about 6 or 7 months into working those jobs where I could start thinking about going back to those maker spaces, and the pandemic hit. It's just, you're done. We can't do anything with that. And so here we are a year after that happened, almost a year since the pandemic really hit. And I don't think it's going to happen this year either. I think it's probably going to be next year before I even really get a shot at making a trip out to some of those other places to finish off the 50 states. And my hope had been, at a certain point, if I had gotten things together well enough, that I could go to the Maker Faire in California, which I don't think they're doing anymore, and then leave there and travel to maker spaces in other countries, and do recordings there, and see if I could get a sponsorship deal with the Make and other organizations that are involved with them. That's a pipe dream at this point. There is no way I can make that happen the way I had originally envisioned it. I have to reimagine it some way to make something like that happen. So as it stands right now, I'm going to have to rethink a lot of things in that line of projects. But theoretically, by this time next year, I should have a sense of whether or not I'll be able to catch some of those states that I didn't get interviews in, and maybe secure something in Alaska. I might see if I can do makerspaces in Canada on the way. It's still going to be really hard to do stranger traveling from other places through your region when we're still recuperating from a pandemic. So I may have to rethink, and I might do recordings. I might be able to do like a conference calls. And that may be something I end up doing. I still think there's a part of me, especially like the trip through Canada to Alaska, I would definitely want to do. I want to do that in person. The idea that I had for doing other countries, I still want to go to those countries. Because here's the thing, the makerspaces were great. But when I went across country, I also went to art museums, art galleries, graffiti alleys. I got pictures of art from at least 6 or 7 places across the country. And I also got picture of landscapes and sunsets in most of the states that I went through. So, like, to me, that experience is worth all the other parts of that journey that were hard. Like, I slept in my car at least half of that 6 months of travel. I slept in the houses of strangers for the other half. And some of the places I stayed in had cockroach problems, and some of the places I stayed in were creepy AF. Some very sketchy situations on occasion, but for the most part, it was a wild adventure, and I would totally be down for doing that again. And I like, it's almost not worth doing if I don't get the chance to have that kind of adventure again. Like, I could do the recorded video interviews, that would be one thing. But I still want to make that trip. I think Illinois, I'm trying to remember when I passed through Illinois. I know, let's see, let me see if I can pull something up here. Okay, so I did, okay, so I did do, I'm trying to remember, I think I did Illinois before I went out to the Santa Fe, New Mexico Nation of Makers. So the first part of the second trip out. Because I did Canton, Ohio. I did a place in Michigan. I did something in Indiana. I think I went from there to a place in Illinois, then Missouri, Kansas, Colorado, and then Santa Fe, New Mexico. And then I left there and went through Salt Lake City. I think I had already gotten Vegas. And then I went to California to get the biohacker space. Then Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. And then I went for Nebraska. And then South Dakota was difficult, but I got a place. North Dakota was the place where the guy was just starting out, so I only had an interview with him, and I haven't heard anything from him since, and I can't find any reference to the space if it exists at all. And then I went to Minnesota, got stood up. Iowa, I got stood up. I think I struggled with Wisconsin, and then I just kind of gave up. I said, I'm done. I'm going back home. And then I think that summer I got one more in upstate New York, Binghamton, upstate New York. I still have to get something for Pennsylvania. I have to get something for Delaware. I could get more for Vermont because I only got a little bit from them. I need Alabama, Mississippi. No, I have Mobile, Alabama. I did get. I need Mississippi. I need Louisiana. And I had the hardest time with Oklahoma. There was a makerspace in Oklahoma that I spent, I kid you not, 4 months trying to get a hold of. They were there, they exist, they're still running, but they do not respond to any attempts to communicate with them. No phone calls, no emails, no message boards. I joined one of their meeting groups just so I can ask if there's a way I can do that. Still, I could not get a single response from anybody there. And then I was passing through there on my way out to Santa Fe. I stayed with somebody in the same town as the makerspace. I drove down to their location, and they were closed the day I was there. And they had no way of contacting them to find out if they would be open the next time I was in the area. So I couldn't arrange a get-together. And I was just like, you are making this so difficult that it's almost comedic at that point. But I have other things I need to do. So I just kind of wrote it off. And it was at the Santa Fe Maker Fair, or no, the Nation of Makers convention, that I met with somebody who has a fab lab out in a different city in Oklahoma. And I'm like, yeah, it's not a makerspace, but I can do a fab lab just as a comparison to see what they are. So I guess you're it, guys. I guess because I can talk to you, we'll make that work. And I was just like, I can't believe I spent 6 months trying to reach this place in Oklahoma, and they are just unreachable. That is the least convenient way to be a makerspace. I do believe I have one for each Illinois and Indiana. I'm not sure about Illinois. I'm trying to remember. I do think I have one for that. Yeah. I'd have to go back through my list to see which ones were difficult and I couldn't make happen. I'm almost certain that the list of the ones I need are Louisiana, Mississippi, Delaware, Pennsylvania, North Dakota, and Alaska. I think I have 6 that I don't have. So 6 states out of 50 that I haven't gotten yet. That seems about right. 6 out of 50. That would mean I got about 44 states. And of the ones that I have gotten, most of them have at least 2 interviews with individuals, one with a tour of the space and one how the space is run. So there should be minimum 4 videos per state, except for North Dakota, which is why I count it as one I have to redo. Oh, no, hang on. I believe Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin are the 3 northern states that didn't work out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are 8 that I didn't get. So I have 42. And I do believe that Illinois and Indiana are both ones that I got. Let me pull up my list of ones I got here. Maker's Journey, Illinois. That folder's empty on this computer, but I almost guarantee you it's on a SD card or on the backup hard drive. Makers. Let's do do I have a file with the names of everyone I went to? Maker Summer. Okay, so we had Canton, Ohio, Ann Arbor, Missouri, Michigan. Siberia in Indianapolis, Indiana, and Make It Here in Illinois. And then I went from Illinois to Missouri. Yeah, so Make It Here, I think, was the one I did in Downers Grove, Illinois. I think that's the one I did. No guarantees, because that may have changed halfway through the trip. Let's see what I had originally planned. So Louisiana, nope, March, April, West Virginia, and then round 2 was Illinois. There was one in Illinois that was called Makerspace Urbana. That might be the one I went to. I'm not sure. I'd have to go look through the videos again because it's been 2 years. It's almost 3 years. So my memory is a little not sure there. Indiana, Club Siberia is definitely the one I went to. Okay, I do recall Club Siberia was having some difficulty, so they may no longer be in place. I can do a lookup. Yeah, it was weird traveling down so many stretches of road. I saw so many deer the year I traveled. It was like every day there was at least 1 or 2 dead smeared deer across the highway. I'm like, I did not know that it was that big a problem. Okay, so let's see. Make It Here. Club Siberia, I know I definitely went to. I could check to see if they're still up and running. Clubs .org. Siberia, are they up and running? First Saturday open house. Due to COVID-19, open houses have been temporarily suspended. Looks like their last post. To clarify, the space is closed to the public till at least May 1st, and that was 9 months ago. In the meantime, we are working towards manufacturing PPE for first responders and essential workers. If you would like to participate in these efforts, please join us on our Discord channel. So they have a Discord channel. So they are in, where is their location? Indianapolis. Indianapolis, Indiana. And then Illinois was Make It Here. I think I did that one. I think that was one of the ones that was a for-profit makerspace, which is not mega rare, but it's unusual. Nope, that didn't return the result I was looking for. Make it here, Downers Grove, Illinois. Downers Grove. Make it here. I do recall this one being hard to get the data on. Yeah, it's over on Thatcher Road, Downers Grove, Illinois. Permanently closed. Do they have their website? It looks like it may now be defunct. Oh, I remember that place. That was a really good place. That was one of the few for-profit ones that I did. It was one of 2 so far that I've done that was a for-profit. That was kind of a neat place. I remember some of the things that I saw there. There was a young woman who was doing a build in her van to make it a van she could live out of. That's sad. What happened? See you later. It's gone. Boom. That's disappointing. Well, I'm sure we're probably going to see a fair number like that. I would be willing to bet you. I would be willing to bet you that a lot of maker spaces have suffered hard from this pandemic. So that would have been Make It Here in Illinois, Downers Grove. Man. I wonder if there are any maker spaces currently in Illinois now that are operational. All right, so let's see. Two years ago is pretty much 2 and 3 years ago are the reviews. So I guess that one's really gone. Okay, so wow, okay. So it looked like there are probably a few. But how many of them are functional currently, it would be hard to say for sure. Like I can pull up, there's a list of some of the ones. One of the things I used early on for finding names of places was hackerspace. So wiki.hackerspaces.org, and then do a search by state, pull up the list, pull up each individual one within that state, get the individual contacts for them, and then just start sending messages, cold emailing. And whoever you heard back from was the one you were going to go check out. And I will say, once you got past about Indiana, and you were in the northern part of the U.S., shit got thin quick. Like, it was literally like scrambling to find anybody anywhere who would answer, so that you could find, like, some of these places just don't have makerspaces. There wasn't one in the entirety of North Dakota. The guy I was talking to was starting the first one. So I reached out to him, got in contact with him. He was supposed to have it up and running by the time I got there. It wasn't. He was working on it. Did an interview with him, said I'd probably come back to see how things worked out. As soon as I was gone, within a month or two of leaving, reaching out again, no responses to emails, no information about when the place was going to go up and running. And all their blogs and all their posts were like dated. The last post was dated the day, like the month before I got there to interview the guy. So it's just sort of like, I don't think that one ever actually materialized. I think that one fell apart before it could manifest. But it's not unusual for makerspaces to go under. So I have a distinct feeling that there are going to be a few of them. Yeah, it's unfortunate to see so much loss on the makerspace front. I'd be interested to reach out to many of the places I went and just kind of touch base with them and see how they're doing after all of this. But I will try to reach out to some of the places I still need to get, and I will reach out to the places that I've been. I was thinking it would be interesting to do a sort of a podcast style video, maybe with like highlights from the trip to the makerspace as video playing, but just audio recording of calling and talking with people at the makerspaces I went to see how many are still kicking around and made it through, and what it's like to be a makerspace in the current time. That would be interesting to do. I think that's probably more likely to be later in the year as I get more into the swing of doing this. Maybe as a weekend video, potentially as a follow-up to the series when I get, like I said, I've got like 200 some odd videos. So that'll get me through like 2/3 of the year. So that last part of the year may be touching base with a lot of those places and getting updates on how things are going and what they're doing. But that's for later in the year, I think. But I can say, when I pulled up Illinois' hackerspaces, I wish there was more data on them, but there seem to be a few. Chaos Theory, Bloomington, Normal, Hackerspace, Pump Station 1, Analytics Lounge, Southside Hackerspace, Catalyze. Okay, so Aurora, Bloomington, Chicago, 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 DeKalb, Downers Grove, Glen Ellen, Joliet, Mocana, Naperville. Naperville sounds familiar. Peoria, Quincy, Rockford, St. Charles, Schaumburg, and Wheeling. What is that? Building 24. Last updated 2012. That doesn't bode well. That's not right. Elastic Enterprise. Somebody bought the website. All right. Nope. I guess they're gone. So what area are you in? Not that we want you to share your address on YouTube, but you in Chicago area? So it says for Chicago, there's Pump Station 1, Analytics Lounge, Southside Hackerspace, Catalyze, and Artifice. Artifice sounds nifty. It's a phrase I use sometimes. Last updated 2013. Got a Facebook group, Artifice Chicago. Some of these just don't get updated. Oh, last updated 04/27/2020. That's Catalyze, M-Hub. M-Hub is Chicago's innovation center for physical product development and manufacturing. Our prototyping shop consists of 10 labs, and not quite the same thing. Plastics, metalworking, wet lab, metal fabrication, metal milling. It's not too bad. But sounds like that one, Catalyze, may be the most recent. I don't know why it's Catalyze on there, and then it says M-Hub. $145 for part-time shop access. It's pretty steep. All right. Southside space, last updated 2012. Oh, last updated 2020. Date founded 2012. Okay. So they're up and running, it looks like, potentially. Website. Southside Hackerspace Chicago. New visitors to fill out mandatory COVID form before visiting. We're a doocracy. If you want something done, do it. That's pretty common, actually. Space, meeting space, electronics, 3D printing, vinyl cutter, wood shop, technology, other amenities. All right. So that sounds like a medium makerspace. Analytics Lounge. Last updated this year too. Okay, or this past year too, huh? All right, so Analytics Lounge, are they up and running? No upcoming events. That's not promising. Electronics, prototyping, chemistry, physics lab. Electron microscope. Now that would be fun. Are they still up and running? I can't see any data on this. Are they there or are they not? That's not useful. But that's out in the Chicago way. So you're out in Illinois. So you're probably in the let's see. So you're south of Champaign, Urbana. So you're probably out there. So what do we got in that area? And we've got wow. Okay, so not a lot of. Let's just do. Come on, zoom in, baby. Okay, so where we got? Aurora. I think that's not the right spot. Trying to see if there's anything in that area. I don't see any of the towns that are mentioned here. DeKalb is mentioned, but I think that's somewhere else, right? So like the towns that come up on the Makerspace list are McKenna, Peoria, Quincy, Rockford, St. Charles, Schaumburg, Wheeling, Joliet, Glen Ellen. I mean, I can really just here. I'll just do this. This probably makes more sense if it shows up. If YouTube will let me post it. This link should give you a list of hacker spaces and maker spaces in the Illinois area. Now, Illinois and Indiana. I would almost say Illinois probably has more available. And actually looks about the same. Now the question of how many are still around is a valid question. But I mean, I'm sure there's one somewhere. And if there's not, I'm sure one will pop up again in the future. But after this pandemic, I think it's going to be hard for things like that to take off again. I feel like we're hitting a point where the consequences to a lot of things are really going to be something that come up now. Like starting up a makerspace, starting up a business is going to be harder now than it was before the pandemic. What, in-house? I mean, that is one of the things that in our area in New Hampshire we have we had a little trouble for a long time starting a makerspace, primarily because we live in an area where most everybody has almost a barn-sized garage. So you have space for an upstairs workshop. And in many cases where somebody's inherited their family's house, there's Yeah, I mean, literally, you have people with full built out wood shops in their garage. Like, they don't need to come to a communal space to do that stuff. So, like wood shops, metal shops, auto repair shops, people had their own spaces. So there wasn't a lot of, there was interest in doing a community of people that would share their experiences and whatnot. But if it was going to be difficult, then they wouldn't invest the time and energy to do it. So it was hard to get initial setup. But eventually there were a couple spaces that got it going in New Hampshire. I think that's also a problem with why there aren't very many out in the Dakotas. North and South Dakota are pretty slim on maker spaces. But as it stands, and actually one of the next videos I need to edit for the North Carolina visit, I think it's going to be not the one that goes up tomorrow, but the one after that. She is somebody who's sort of running a maker-friendly business that she started in the makerspace. And I kind of want to look up the business and see how she's doing. I would almost wager she's not doing great. But I'm curious enough to just see how it's all going. It'll be very interesting to see how it all looks now compared to what it was 2 years ago. We're almost at an hour and a half. I should probably call it for tonight because I want to do one more edit tonight. And then I need to get to bed and start plotting the work tomorrow, and then some more editing. I need to see if I can... I think what I'm going to do for this is, for this channel, taste test, book, taste test, movie, taste test, board game, or game in general, taste test, art and music, and that would be each month. Because I went looking through my old taste test videos, and I have like 70 of them. So, like, I have enough that I can do one each week for a year, easy, and have some left over. And I will probably, over the course of this year, do a few others. So I don't think I'm at any risk of running out of taste test videos. But books, movies, games, art and music, if I do one per week of each of those, that'll get me 4 weeks. That's usually a month. Occasionally throw in an additional product or service kind of review to round out any of those 5-week months. I think that's probably the way I'm going to go for that. And I may end up doing it Monday and Tuesdays with the I might do that Tuesday and Thursday, live stream on Tuesday and Thursday, and Sunday. And then creative projects like the animation project update maybe another day during the week. For now, I'm going to call it for tonight and catch you on Thursday, I guess. Take care and have a good night. That's a long one. I haven't done an hour and a half in over a year. Buenos noches. Good luck finding a makerspace in your area. Contact them and see if there's any fun things to do.